Kache Sergio Roger Rablan and Mandara Dalarjun Jindan, Denginuru, Jimbas de Sao Nebelunum Kainda. Kanjir Nepal Roger Rab the Gaverik, Bazimba Kaimba, the Datam Jatarba Tambegul, Tubesunian in Dirshe, Ladalem Miamchi, Wambuda. Jajin Lazuchi Chola Chawa Chabanam, Sange Songra of Dushin de Juru Jurba. Tedashi Tambichin in Dirshe. Kando Jundonge Jigdena, Dejelo Marjurba Khan, so that thing the Tembechuji Charbin Yambardo, but Tamje Dreshe Namo like Edan Ludanu Jinke, Dubum Dadami, Janam Drogunji Donam Chizam, but Tamjeke do Tagichu, then to Palenza Lama Rumboja Dagichu recommendation. Cutting Jimbe Gunages on the Kuzun to Jimudu Salto, so Tabget to Jeshache Risochon, Shinjime to Duji Punchampa. Sergio Lumbo Tabur Jibeku, Shaji Jabe Shabla Chatalo Chaton, Kolo Jube Jabo Donchanon Kaba Samba Sangedo, Kanla County, Tella Terdemba Zumba Cheris la Chatalo, Seji Jawa Tamji, Shipungo Chikto, Basishi Kunji Pajur, Jambayan la Chatal. Kanshi, Tony Shinji, Punala Sotan, Tony Charger Jersey, but Dojechen la Chatalo. Nalendaru to them the tension something Kalashi. Shivalashe Chawai, Lamatella, Chatsalo, Nalendaru to them the tension something Kalashi, Shivalashe Chawai, Lamatella, Chatsal. Tujechimbo Tandem Betado Shinji Tenzeba, Najarwan Justajab, Kunganimbo La Chatsal. Shejatam Jezibe Jayamba Dugunjele, Dube to Jejin Summit, Tilezebe Tonga, Jamgan Lame, Jabla Goja. So Yes, Shinjil of Shalama, Kinsewa, 10 men, Kaulama Kinsewa, Suldristic Lama Kinsewa. Shindu Mesto Lamaki Lakbar Teto Lama Kinsewa, Zechik Solo Lama Kinsewa, Cheno Lama Kinse to Cheno. China, Tershin Daniel Lama Jambal de Cheno, Choku Taulo, Ningi Kolo Namsam Kangi Chatanso. Niesem Tache, Tambe Meba, Tegun Gumbu, Suzuchi, Yabjinil, Lachentala, Revamachi, Kalngenta, Ninsen, Kundu Jamian, Kubesam, Chechi, Tujishu, Junse Menyamunjan, Surni Rangi Nebele Bise, Tadung Chunyu Major Padu Chapshan Solvar Major, whom Ujin Ujin of Jansam, Pema Kazardon Bolayans and Chogin, Pema Chesota, Cordo Kandra Mambe Koro. Chejisu down to the Shinjil of the Shiksu. Guru Pema said, Kusum Lama, Soja Dojetala, Choktomunji Modupsal the soul. Tashidele again. Sorry about the background noises. I am in some sort of a beach house in Chile. Before we start, last time we discussed that we will take out names. So now I have the names here. A plate full of names of bodhisattvas. So I will take out one of these names and within sort of the end of this month we will try to find time to have a Skype or at least a video interview so that we can do question answers. Hello. Okay, so I will take out one name. Patricia Geese. Geese. Patricia Geese or Geese. That's you then. The first person. So what will happen is that we will try to set up time through email or through message directly. You can message me on Facebook, or you could email me. That would be more sort of professional. And actually you will have to sort of read through the verses of the last sessions, and then you give explanations on that, and I may or may not ask questions. And if you have questions, you can ask me, and we can try to discuss. And I don't think it will last longer than 15 minutes, 20-minute tops. That would be a little bit long. We have been asked by many people what is the next homework, and of course, as much as we would like to engage you guys again and again, this is really not like a kindergarten, you know. So you are supposed to actually read and practice and train through the text. The text is your homework. You know, anything else we give is additional. So please read, and yes, try to really emulate it in your life. This is how I've seen masters practice. They walk somewhere. While walking, they're thinking of some stanzas and they're musing over the meaning. They see some situations and they look at it and they think, so this is how it is. And they remember the stanzas. They remember, if not the actual words, the meaning of it. That is the real homework, actually. That is the real practice. You know, it's really not like a playground where I'm going to lay down rules for you and then you do according to that. I mean, what kind of bodhisattva then we are trying to raise here? We're trying to make out of ourselves here. So, with the motivation of the liberation of all sentient beings, please study, contemplate, and meditate accordingly upon the following text. As I have stressed again and again, and as of course you yourself, some of you definitely much senior than me in practice and much more advanced, and you know that since this is a spiritual path, it's a spiritual matter, the real perseverance, what really counts is your motivation. So please motivate yourself accordingly, and I will motivate myself accordingly. So the last stanza was Tete Gyawa Nyamchuk Nila Tak Dikpa Topje Shindu Meseba Tene Zogbe Changchuk Semiba Geshin Kangi Zilji number Jurus. I think that was the last stanza. Then stanza number 6. Virtue thus is weak, and always evil is of great and overwhelming strength. Except for perfect bodhicitta, what other virtue is there that can lay it low? So till here we talked about, and we were talking about how rare it is just an idea to to be virtuous, to be to not harm, to not kill, to not lie, to not. It is so rare, and non-virtuous ideas, actions, speech, they are almost natural to us. No one has to be taught. This is so true on so many levels, especially for example, in my own perception. I must have heard this so many times, hundreds of times. You know, the Sakchapas, they say something like this. They say, if it exists, it is He Vajra, meaning the deity. Meaning enlightenment. It is so difficult, really. 100 times I must have heard, but never, I can never understand it. You know, you look at sentient beings, and we look at ourselves, we look at others, beings who can talk, who can think sophisticated thoughts like we have, or those who what we assume, how we assume don't have. Amongst all this confusion and desire, aggression, and this cold loneliness of samsara, to believe that each one of us, we are primordially pure, that the Buddha nature that we have and the Buddha nature or the enlightenment the Buddhas have, there is no different. So indeed, wisdom is weak, wisdom is rare, ignorance is strong. Ignorance is all the time. From ignorance comes non-virtue. This is what Shantideva is saying here, that non-virtue is extremely strong. Sentient beings' mind are like a night. It's like a night without any moon, without any stars, without any sort of flickering source of light. And virtuous thoughts, aspirations are as rare as a flash of lightning in such a night. So, sort of that was what till we talked about, right? So we go on. I don't want to waste your time with my own ideas, which are probably mistaken, and anyway, what does it matter? Kalpa tumar rabgon zebai tuban namchi dini pembersik dini tseme chebe cho namchi desho delani do tobarches. This one is beautiful. Number 7. For many aeons, deeply pondering, the mighty sages saw its benefits. whereby unnumbered multitudes are brought with ease to supreme joy. Okay. Kalpa thumar rabgong zebai thumar namji dini pembarzik. So the Lord of the sages, Lord of the sages is here, the Buddha, Shakyamuni, let's say Shakyamuni Buddha. From the first moment of entering the path of Bodhisattva, Shakyamuni Buddha, for many aeons, we're not talking about lifetimes, many kalpas, one pointedly, directly or indirectly, had but one sort of aspiration, one motivation, one intention. What is going to benefit sentient beings the most? What will end the suffering, seemingly never-ending suffering of this samsara for sentient beings? What is the sort of the answer to all this problem? The Lord of the sages saw that only this is beneficial for the sentient beings. I know that what I'm saying is a little bit different from the translation here. The mighty sages saw its benefit, but I don't know. I guess it can be translated in like this too. But if I just read the Tibetan, it says Tuban Namji Dini Pember 6. The Lord of the sages, the Lord of the sages, he saw the bodhicitta, only bodhicitta as beneficial, as the will bring the sort of, as we read further down, only bodhicitta is the sort of the final solution. Dini tseme chewe chonamji decho dela nidu tobarches. Only bodhicitta can bring the supreme joy, which is here the Buddhahood, of course, complete wisdom or Buddha nature, right? Easily, joyfully, only bodhicitta can do this. To not only one person, to not only in the mind stream of the practitioner, but in the mind stream of all sentient beings, or better yet, in the mind stream of countless of sentient beings, innumerable, boundless number, sort of quantity of sentient beings. Only bodhicitta can bring the ultimate benefit. Nothing else. The next one, Sibe Dungang Jatra Shumdujing, Semjem Mede Salvar Debatan, Demang Jatra Chabar Debejang, Changju Semni Takdo Tangmi Chas. Those, stanza number 8, those who wish to crush the many sorrows of existence, who wish to quell the pain of living beings, who wish to have experience of a myriad joys, should never turn away from bodhicitta. Well, these stanzas actually are quite self-explanatory, yeah? But anyway, as tradition, I will still try to explain a little bit. Sipe dunga jata shumduchik. So, if there is someone here now, present in the audience, this is what Shantideva was saying, if there is someone here who have similar ideas, who just as Shakyamuni on his path had but one intention, renouncing violence completely. Not only that, one sort of unconditionally benefiting sentient beings. If there is someone like that who wants to destroy hundreds of difference of sufferings of samsara, he says, sipe dunga jata shamdeching semje mide salvar debatans. Not only that, who wants to who not only wants to be free from samsara herself or himself, but who wants to sort of remove all discomfort of sentient beings. But not just with sort of a blind compassion or mistaken compassion. So we have compassions like that. Compassion that is without wisdom is a blind compassion. It is a mistaken compassion, and it is going to bring a lot of pain to the possessor. So then what are we talking about here? This is not some sort of a, like you see the suffering of sentient beings and then you sort of sit in a corner and you just cry without any answer, and then you not only become useless to the sentient beings, but you become an additional burden to your friends and family. Not like that. And even when we try to, without compassion, without wisdom, even when we try to benefit somebody, it always ends up harming them. As Jabji Manjushri Khyentse Rinpoche, he says, we ordinary sentient beings, we are like someone whose hands are completely covered with honey. This honey sort of signifies the compassion without wisdom. So it kind of looks nice, looks very good, feels good, but it's very sticky. And the more and we try to clean other sentient beings, and the more we try to clean sentient beings, we end up sort of making them more dirty. The more we try to relate with the phenomena, we end up getting attached to everything that we come across. Not like that. Then what type of compassion are we talking about? We are talking about compassion with wisdom. That type of compassion will bring will bring hundreds of myriads of different joy. Bodhisattva will joyfully tread the path. Bodhisattva is not like Bodhisattva is constantly depressed, joyfully treading the path. Now such a person should never let go of bodhicitta, he says. This is one of the most important aspirations that we should have, as mentioned in the King of Aspiration, the prayer of Samantabhadra. He says he aspires to be born again and again for the benefit of beings, and he aspires never to forget bodhicitta, that bodhicitta should never be forgotten. I remember this, when we receive with a very special ceremony. Actually, once we received bodhicitta vow from Chapji Manjushri Khyentse Rinpoche, and so he gave us a piece of paper with our bodhisattva name, and in the middle of the paper is written whatever name that he gave us, and below just one line, Changchup Sim ni Namyang Jema Gyurs. May you never forget bodhicitta. But it's difficult, even in this sort of, while we are alive, while we have food and drinks and everything is kind of okay, and then temporary suffering, we immediately forget bodhicitta. And it's so difficult to retain anger and to sort of suppress our anguish, And to think during the time of death, for example, when we cannot breathe, when we cannot speak, when our body is slowly turning very cold, knowing that we will be pulled out of everything that we love and care, like a hair out of butter. How am I supposed to remember bodhicitta then? Can you? And not just remember, to have confidence in it. Yes, I have bodhicitta. Confident. No problem. Here is the aspiration to liberate all sentient beings. Will you have? Will I have? I am not confident that I will have that. Maybe I will be very scared and all, crying and wailing and then trying to cling on to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the name of the Bodhisattvas, or just to remember that I have bodhicitta. This is the name. What does bodhicitta mean? That is one thing. And on top of that, to have confidence. Such a person should never let go of bodhicitta, which means such a person should always have confidence in the influence of bodhicitta, in the impact, never-ending impact of bodhicitta. Next stanza. This is wonderful. He says, Changchup semche dunna kechiki korwe tsorar dambe nyamtanam deshek namji seshi jwechashing jikten lamirchebe chakjar jur, The next stanza. Should bodhicitta come to birth in those who suffer chained in prisons of samsara, in that instant they are called the children of the blissful one, revered by all the world, by gods and humankind. So stanza is quite self-explanatory. Like he says, even though the person himself or herself is chained in samsara, completely bound by afflictions, if by chance such a person manages to give rise to bodhicitta, instantly, from being a pathetic, worthless victim of samsara, this person transforms into the protector, the supreme sort of provider of joy and well-being to sentient beings. Such a person becomes known as son or daughter of the Buddha. Such a person becomes worthy of receiving prostrations from all sentient beings. To believe that, it's wonderful to be able to believe that. Why? Because this person, whatever path this person is on, it is not going to end suffering of just one or few sentient beings. It is going to end suffering of countless, numberless of. We like to throw these words around a lot. I get tired of saying this sometimes. It just seems like almost mechanical. May all beings be free. Bodhicitta is the answer. It's going to remove. But beings do suffer, However much you think that you suffer, since you are a human being, cannot be as much as other sentient beings suffer. Especially since you have met Buddha Dharma. Most of you, actually, even in a worldly term, most of you live in quite good countries, actually. We can look into the animal realm, for example. Right now, maybe you can hear or not, I don't know. I can hear the sea. There's nothing joyful about it. And it's so difficult, to look at a half-eaten crab or a, what do you call it? I don't know. All kind of animal. To think that this being, this is, has same bodhicitta. Same Buddha nature as the Shakyamuni. There's no difference. No difference. Forget that. Even on a very worldly term, to imagine and to wish that even to these sentient beings, if bodhicitta is born right now, that would be the answer of it. This sentient being will have immense merit, will be freed from this lower realm. And this very worthless, pathetic sentient beings will one day sit under the Bodhi tree, defeat all maras, turn the wheel of dharma, and that's because I don't have confidence in bodhicitta, so it's difficult to look at it. Like, I get completely taken by the suffering of it, or I'm completely indifferent. So this is what someone like me should train in, to have confidence in bodhicitta. This is it, this is the answer. No need at anything else. Sorry about to waste your time. We move to the next one. Sirjurti number choto mizang ludilan javiku rinchin rintame par jurvena changjup semshe chawa rapten zooms. This is also wonderful. He says, for like the supreme substance of the alchemist, it takes our impure flesh and makes of it the body of a Buddha, jewel beyond all price. Such is bodhicitta. Let us grasp it firmly. Here, bodhicitta is likened to Sirjurgitsi. It's like it's supposed to be. Tsi is kind of like a paint. Sirjur is to turn into gold. But of course, it's not like you paint metal with gold, thin layer of gold, and then it becomes gold. No. This refers to there is supposed to be a very special liquid silver which, if found by a very skilled alchemist, the alchemist can then turn it into a very special substance that can turn thousands of ordinary metal into gold. That's the example now. And the object to which this example is sort of coined with is bodhicitta. So the alchemist is like the Buddha. Buddha is the alchemist, wanting to liberate sentient beings, wanting to help others, wanting not to harm others, is like this very special silver, so to speak, this liquid silver. When this type of compassion, kindness is met with an alchemist like Buddha, a very special substance is created called bodhicitta. This substance can then turn a very ordinary, worldly, sentient being into how to say, Buddha. Metsang ludi langne jalbeko. Here he says this body of ours that is made of flesh and bones, the very beginning of this body is from seeds of our father and mother, something that generally we consider very dirty. And the end of this body will also be just ashes, or will turn into soil. Yes. So usually we in the scriptures we have the body is called very impure. Shantideva says, not only that, and this body is also very weak. We can't do much with this. It gets cold, it gets too warm, it gets bitten. We have to protect it all the time. So it is very, very impure compared to the body of a yogi, a supreme yogi like Buddha. So bodhicitta is the supreme substance of alchemy that can turn this sort of bundle of flesh and bones and blood and into the most precious and pure body, Nirmanakaya, of the Buddha. Dove tebin chikbi tsemelu lekbar yongso tang na rinchebe dove ne tang dalbar deban rinche changchup semlek tembar sung. Next stanza. Since the boundless wisdom of the only guide of beings perfectly examined and perceived its priceless worth, those who wish to leave this state of wandering should hold well to this precious bodhicitta. Drove tebin chikbu tsemelu. The only captain of sentient beings, wanderers in this ocean of samsara, with his boundless mental capacity, has again and again and thoroughly examined, thoroughly analyzed this bodhicitta. So as to say, what more doubt do you have left now? What is stopping you now from following this with complete trust? And having analyzed and examined for long time through his boundless, unimaginable mental capacity, the Buddha, the supreme captain, found no fault anywhere, in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end. Such a pristine, faultless bodhicitta is indeed very precious, because it is very rare. Someone who really wants to abandon samsara, someone who really wants to abandon samsara for all sentient beings, should never let go of such precious bodhicitta, and should always hold such precious bodhicitta very close. Geva Shinkun Chushin Shindu ni Drevu Chene Zebra Jurubani, Changju Semji Junshin Takparayan, Drevu Jimbe Mise Pelwar Jurus. So this first chapter is actually mainly dedicated to praising the bodhicitta, only mainly dedicated to sort of inspiring us to take bodhicitta, to have some confidence in bodhicitta. Yes, so it is going to be like this. And here again he is praising the merit that bodhicitta brings and how it is different from others. Gewa shen kun chushing shin tu ni dewu jimbe mesi phebar jur changjup sim di junshin takbar ya dewu gewa shen kun chushing shin tu dewu jini seba juwani changjup sim di junshin takbar ya dewu jimbe mesi phelbar jur. All other virtues, like the plantain tree, produce their fruit, but then their force is spent. Alone, the marvelous tree of bodhicitta constantly bears fruit and grows unceasingly. So there is supposed to be in the Tibetan literature we have chushing, and it is introduced as a plant that gives fruit only a few times. A plant that gives fruit only one time, actually, that's how it is introduced, and then it will just die out. So all the worldly virtue is likened to such a plant that will give fruit only once, maybe twice, then it will die out. But the bodhicitta, virtue of bodhicitta, is likened to to a marvelous plant that will not only give fruit once, again and again and again, not only give fruit once, but again and again, it will also grow. It will grow more and more and more, become larger and larger and larger. So similarly, bodhicitta is likened to that the merit of bodhicitta never extinguishes. As Buddha in some sutras says, if just like dropping one putting a drop of water in an ocean, a drop of water by itself may dry out, but when it is mixed with the ocean water, it will be logical to say, as long as the ocean remains, that one drop of water will also remain. So bodhicitta is also likened to that. The virtue of bodhicitta is also likened to that. So like this, not difficult at all, but wonderful to contemplate upon. Rebecca, chuzo kazure? Chuzo kazure? Okay, the next stanza. Digba shindu mize chenaya pala tenne jigba chembotar kanla tenne yuji doljuruba tela pakchen namje chimitens. So bodhicitta it's not most merit, they bring joyful results, but they don't necessarily goes against the non-virtue that we have. They don't. What I'm trying to say is, most merits are like you're planting rice, for example, in a field, and you plant rice. But there are also many poisonous plants that you have knowingly, unknowingly, you have sowed. What will happen at the end is that the rice will give its fruit, and the poisonous plants will also grow alongside. Bodhicitta is likened to a medicinal plant that when it grows in a field, not only it itself will grow and benefit us, but through its effect, the poisonous plants will also weaken and die out. This is sort of a difference of the karma between the merit of bodhicitta and merit of, ordinary other merit, virtue. Yes. So he says, as though they pass through perils guarded by a hero, even those weighed down with dreadful wickedness will instantly be freed through having bodhicitta. Why do those who fear their sins not have recourse to it? Okay. That was stanza number 13. So this sort of shows how relative bodhicitta nearly completely destroys or suppresses the non-virtue, the non-virtuous actions, karma that we have accumulated. So the example here is someone who has done something horrible, like killing, robbing, and in an ordinary mundane sense, when you do something like that, you get result very quickly. You are punished by law or by sort of the relatives of your victim, basically. So that is the ordinary sort of scenario. Now say someone then is fortunate enough to have a very, very powerful friend, and then even though you have actually done something that in a way you deserve to be punished, you deserve to sort of go through the result of your action, but somehow, because you manage to shake yourself up and then take bodhicitta. Not only that, you are now trying to make it grow more and more within you, and that bodhicitta is similar to a very powerful friend. And even though you kind of karmically you deserve to be born in a lower realm, you deserve to have suffering befall upon you in this life, but because you have this immensely powerful mind, bodhicitta, you will not suffer as much as you should, he says. Not only that, you will be freed from the terror of your action. So those so those who are sort of careful, those who are vigilant, he says, why don't they take refuge in bodhicitta? Teni today machine dictionum kijik never sekbarche dei penyon pakdo mebata chamgun loda dembe norsang shares. Okay, I will now the next stanza number 14. Just as by the fire that will destroy the world, great sins are surely and at once consumed by it. Its benefits are thus unbounded, as the wise and loving Lord explained to Sudhana. Now this refers to the ultimate bodhicitta. So the previous stanza number 13, refers to the relative bodhicitta, which doesn't really sort of removes your karma, negative karma completely, but it really overpowers it and make it very weak. This one refers to the ultimate bodhicitta. Ultimate bodhicitta removes all negative karma from their root. Now this one is likened, ultimate bodhicitta is likened to the final fire that, according to Buddhist cosmology, finally there's going to be sort of 7 suns shining at once, and the whole, when the second sun shines, like the oceans will dry out, then the third sun shines, the whole sort of all the plants and everything will die, and like this, and slowly when the 7 suns shine at once on our world, this whole world will basically burn. The entire desire realm, not only our sort of human realm, but the realm of all the lower realms, not only all the lower realms, the celestial realms, for example Tushita will completely burn, because it is still it is in desire realm, right? So desire realm, there is kind of like a place, there's a sort of like a world or whatever. Form realm, they are born. Form realm is explained like this: when a celestial being is born in a form realm, sort of his or her, house and land and everything is born together with him or her, and when the being passes away, all this will sort of, the perception of it will just vanish. So there is no fire that will burn this sort of form realm or formless realm. But desire realm is mainly introduced as the realm. It comes out of general karma of sentient beings, general karma of beings that are born there. So yeah. So ordinary fire that we have, that comes out of ordinary wood, is said to be 7 times weaker than the fire of sandalwood. Okay, or in other sense, fire of sandalwood is supposed to be 7 times more stronger than ordinary wood. Fire of ordinary wood. Fire of the hell realm is supposed to be 7 times more stronger than the fire of sandalwood. This final fire that will destroy this whole world will be 7 times more stronger than the fire of hell realm. So it goes like this. So it is a very sort of final picture is painted in our head that this whole world will be sort of kind of removed, destroyed, and burned, and then the winds will just blow the ashes in all directions, says Buddha. But from these ashes, new world will be born, he says. So like this, bodhicitta is likened to that. So when the final fire burns, the world cannot remain, it will be gone completely. Similarly, when the ultimate bodhicitta is born within you, self-clinging completely removed. When self-clinging removed, all the sort of non-virtue that comes with self-clinging also removed. From its root, completely burned and destroyed. So, in an instant that will happen, he says. So, they pay part of Mebata, Chamgun Loda Dimbe Norsan shares. Maitreya Do Palpoche Dombo Liu. I don't know what is the translation of this. In a sutra, Maitreya teaches Sudhana Norsang. Sort of what are the benefits of bodhicitta. Maitreya manifests this amazing palace, so to speak, and from each windows of the palace, Sudhana could see all the virtuous, glorious activity of bodhisattva, and then sort of Maitreya teaches Sudhana about the benefit of bodhicitta, about the benefit of having a virtuous friend, and so on and so forth. Okay, I will stop here. The 14th stanza. I hope you can read again and again, and try to remember the verses, while you're driving. I don't know, what I think we need, I don't know, like we should have like a audio book of this text recited by a very, very good, sort of someone with a really good voice. I don't know, maybe when I find somebody, I will sort of try to convince that person to do that, or maybe we have to pay or whatever, so that then we can, just while we are driving or riding, then we can listen to it, or maybe we could ask someone like Jabji Khyentse Rinpoche to recite. I don't know, I would like that very much. So then while you're walking, you could listen to the stanzas, and you're thinking about it, like constantly. That would be really good. Okay, so that would be all. sonam di thamje zigba nye thomne nye be danam phamje di chegana ji balong chobai sibe sole do war show changju semjo rambo che maje panam cheba da cheba nyamba me ba nya khoni khong do phelbar jambal pa jidara chamban do kundo zambo te ante jinde te da kunji jesu thadum ji jawa de da thamje rab do ngo thane charap thamje do tembe khurjin kherwar mani jo temba nyamji to bai central sabri chungwar show may I in all my lifetimes carry far the weight of Buddha Dharma, and if for some reason I am not capable to do so, may I always be worried about the longevity of Dharma.